appreciate that you'd come. I feel passionate about this subject, and I wanted you to know why I was passionate and kind of be able to set the stage. And I actually have a message for you today. Adopted, and I never knew that when I was growing up. But we got asked all the time, why is he so tall and you're so short? Why is this, that, and the other thing? I didn't know. All I knew was he was my very best friend. And it wasn't until I was a little bit older that I learned why he was tall and I was so squatty. The way we learned that was we loved to hear our mom tell us stories about when we were little and how things came to be. And my favorite story to hear her tell was about her struggle with infertility. She and my dad were married almost 7 years, and her greatest desire in her whole life was to be a mom, but there were no babies coming. And this was decades ago. This was many decades ago, and fertility medication wasn't what it is today. And not only was it not refined, it was not effective. And I remember her telling the story about she's sitting on the couch one day before work, and all of a sudden her head started turning back and forth. And then her eyes started rolling back in her head, and then her tongue started going in and out, and all of a sudden her arms are going, and she's just in complete spasms all over the place. And she's trying to get my dad's attention, and there was some circumstance that was going on, but legs and arms and everything. And this was one of the side effects of the fertility medication that she was trying at that particular time. And there were a lot of medications and a lot of side effects and a lot of tears and a lot of heartache. And I know this, having had my own struggles of wanting a baby and not having it come right when I wanted it. But my other favorite story was about the night at one of my dad's competitive softball games. Now my dad's an athlete, and he's a gifted athlete. Anything he touches, be it ball, bat, club, whatever it is, my dad he's a true pro, he's a champion, and he just is very gifted as an athlete. And he has always played very competitively when he plays sports. And so he was in like a fast pitch softball league. He was the first baseman. That's a big deal. You need to know that's a big deal. He'd tell you that's a big deal. Anyway, this was a big part of his life. And I loved hearing the story about this one fast pitch softball game when my parents got the call that there was a baby boy for them. Because no matter how big of a part of his life, his athletics were, there was nothing that was more important to him and no greater desire. And I have this picture in my mind of my dad on this night. I've seen him stretch to catch a ball at first base. I've seen him hit home runs over the fence. And in my mind, I picture him at this game, probably telling everyone he was going to get his baby boy. And he was probably never more anxious for the end of that ninth inning. I just know that was so important to him. So my mom and dad adopted a baby boy, my older brother. And like I said, it was everything they ever wanted. She quit her job to stay home and be a mom. And just because she had been one of the primary breadwinners in the home, she decided she would take in another baby just to earn a little bit of extra income as long as she was going to be home with my brother. And she wasn't too far into it that she realized, oh my goodness, this is exhausting. This is so much work. I I'm sure it was exhausting, but imagine the shock to find out that it wasn't just exhausting because she had 2 babies to take care of. She was pregnant with me. And I was born about 11 months after my brother. And like I said, we were the best of friends. I had a sister who came 3 years later, and we had the perfect little family. We were taught from the very beginning to love each other more than anything. We didn't know. We didn't know when we were little why that was so important. We just knew it was. That was the way our world worked. And we were at every, Little League baseball game and every Optimus football game and everything for my brother, for the whole family. We never, like I said, we didn't really talk about the adoption. He was our brother as much as if he was, as if we were related by blood. That didn't make sense because we're more related than if we were related by blood. But I had a conversation with him on Monday, so just yesterday, and I asked him some questions that, in my 48 years, he and I have never talked about. I asked him about if he'd ever looked for his birth mom and if he had found her. I was curious, it just wasn't something we talked about. And one thing that he said stuck out to me. He said, like I said, it was decades ago, and his adoption was a closed adoption, so he didn't have access to those records like kids might today. And he said, if I did find her, I just would want to find her for one reason, and that's to tell her thank you. And I would just want to tell her thank you too. So that's why I'm glad you're here today. And that's why I'm glad you're willing to get together and talk on this vlog, because I have a message from every adoptive sister, from every sister of every adopted child. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you did and loving so much that you made a family.